Hello class, and welcome to your Big 6 Research Group Project presentation. This is our first video of several that you will be using to help you understand more about this project. So let's begin. Where do we start? Well, you're going to take a pre-assessment, and this is going to be linked in the very last slide of this presentation, and it is also found in the Blend Space lesson. So you're going to click on that. It's going to take you to a Google form. You're going to put in your name, and you're going to answer honestly all of the questions that are there. Search skills for information. We also need to understand that certain information from the internet is not always true. So we need to know how to filter some of that information and validate. That means go back and make sure it's right. So we want to figure out how to do that instead of always trusting that any video or picture or article is completely true just because it's on the internet. We also want to have a good presentation of what we find and what we learn about during this work. We want to present it to our classmates in a way that helps them learn, and it also is engaging and fun, and it makes them want to go learn about more things that we have presented to them. So here's what you'll be learning how to do. These are our lesson objectives and our standards that we follow. As a teacher, I have to teach you standards, and here are the objectives. So the first objective, or the first thing that we really want to do, is work with our group to ask research questions of something that we really want to know about. What are the burning questions that we really want to know the answers to, that aren't just yes or no answers? And I'll share some questions that are examples later on in this presentation. And we're not just going to be looking in the library for books for our answers, because perhaps the library won't have the answer that we're searching for. And that's okay. That doesn't mean that we just stop searching for our answers. That means we find other ways and other means of finding that information. So it could be on the internet. It could be using an app on your iPads. And so your group is going to come up with one or two questions that you really want to know the answers to. Our second objective is going to be to share this information out with the rest of your class. You guys are going to be working very hard on finding out information about your questions. You will be required to use one low-tech presentation option. And so this picture shows a person holding a poster. You don't need electricity, you don't need an internet connection, you don't need a screen. This is a low-tech option. You have to have at least one low-tech option. And then here's an example of a high-tech presentation option. This is someone standing in front of a screen. They're probably using a computer and maybe even an internet connection to make this presentation so that they can communicate their information to people. So let's start with our standards. We are in Texas, so my first standard is from the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills, or the TEKS. And since you're in second grade, we are in 2.24. So research and research plan, where you are asking open-ended questions like those burning questions we talked about earlier, and then we develop a plan for answering them. So here's some examples. Does the light on an anglerfish ever turn off? Or what does the moon look like on the side that doesn't face the earth? And one last question. Can every person on the planet fit inside an area the size of Texas? So if these are my questions, here's my plan. First, I look in the library for books on fish or the moon and facts on Texas. If I need to, I can use the internet and trusted websites if I can't find the information I'm looking for. So here's our Common Core standards. Participate in shared research and writing projects. This is what you're going to be doing. You're working in groups. So the expectation is that you guys all decide on essential questions. It's not going to be just one question. But I do need to explain that your questions should be related. So if you're talking about anglerfish, and does the light turn off on an anglerfish, you might also want to say, how wide does an anglerfish's mouth open? So you don't want to have 2 or 3 questions that are completely unrelated. And then, of course, whenever we are doing this work, each team member is going to have equal responsibilities in discussing, reading, researching, and presenting during this project. Our ISTE standards, the International Society for Technology and Education, are that students apply digital tools to gather and evaluate and use information. You're going to have your iPads. WB Animals is a good app for researching on animals. You're going to have access to the internet, and of course you have to be concerned that not all websites will have accurate information, and you have to be aware that you need to double check. And then video conference interviews, if you know of a person who is an expert in the field of deep sea fish and you want to call them on Skype, you can do that, and you can record it and then use that to add information to your group's findings. The American Association of School Libraries, they have a standard called Pursuing Personal and Aesthetic Growth. And aesthetic just means that you make things look better, you make things pleasing. And of course, personal growth is you're going to be growing as a person. So how will we improve ourselves through this project? We're going to be gaining knowledge. You're just going to be smarter on a certain subject. It's almost like you're becoming an expert on anglerfish, or an expert on the moon and what the side of the moon looks like that doesn't face the earth. You're going to understand the chain of questions during research. So that means you start with a question, then you research the answer to that question. Then in your research, you will find that you will come up with new questions because you're learning things. Then you will do more research. And then at the very end, we'll present to the class, and we want to make sure that we are showing how much we care about our work. We're presenting our findings in a pleasing way that makes our classmates excited about what we have learned so that they can go forward and learn more as well. So, can't wait to start? Me neither. First, you're going to take the pre-assessment. The link is here, and it's also on the blend space lesson. We're going to form groups, and I'll help you do that. We're going to discuss our interests, and I will help you by giving you some very broad topics, such as the ocean, or the United States, or medieval history, or Greek mythology. We will ask questions to each other as group members. We'll ask questions to Mrs. Wolfe. We'll be open to the ideas and the work of others, and we'll contribute to the work as well. And you'll find that you'll be thinking about this when you go home. So you want to be ready to talk to your parents about some things and take some notes when you're at home. All right, let's get on our iPads and take the pre-assessment. And I can't wait to get started.